What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it is Tier List Tuesday, and it's also Frozen Frenzy Day. You might already be watching it by the time this video is out. I wanted to include every single team in this week's tier list, so I decided to go through every single team's highest paid player for next season and tier list them solely off next season, not the remainder of the contract. We were just looking at next season and how, relative to their cap hit, how good they are. So without further ado, let's not waste any time. We're going to get right into it. We got Austin Matthews. I am going to say, well worth it. He's still the highest paid player in the entire NHL, so I can't say that it's like best contract in the year. You can argue very good value, assuming if he goes for like 65 plus goals, but I think you can rely on 60 to 65 goals for Austin Matthews. Well worth it. Good deal. B plus kind of deal, considering what he brings to the table. Elias Patterson, after the slow start in the bad back half of the season that he has, I think you got to put him in. It's okay. You could maybe even argue for him to be in somewhat of an overpayment, considering the fact that even strength, he's been so bad recently. I think he's going to bounce back. I still think he has far too much talent, and it might be something more mental that's going on with him. But yeah, you can't say well worth it based on the fact that after he got that contract, he kind of shut down for the most part. But I expect him to kind of turn it around. The Jonathan Huberdeau had a really good start to the season, has slowed down a little bit. Still a massive overpayment at $10.5 million. When looking at it, he's probably like a $6, maybe $7 million player going forward. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes for like 65, 70 points. But again, he's making $10.5 million. So it's a decent overpayment. He might be one of the worst contracts on this entire list, point blank, period. Erik Carlson, his is only $10 million. Yes, he has an $11 million salary or AAV, but the Sharks are picking up 1.5 of that. So it's $10 million. I'm going to still go with decent overpayment. I think that he's like a low-end number one, solid number one at this point. I still think he's kind of underrated by the masses. After last season, I think he's going to have a pretty good season, but it's an overpay. At $10 million, he's no longer a top 10 defenseman in the entire NHL, so as a result, I got to have him in overpay. Tim Stützle, right now I'm going to go with well worth it. I think eventually it's going to keep on scaling up where it's eventually maybe next season be very good value, then best contracts in the entire NHL. This season, actually, I think I might still put him in very good value when looking at it. I think we're seeing him kill it early on in the season. I think he's going to go for like 90 points. So at $8.35 million, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I might be rearranging this, but it's definitely well worth it. Maybe even very good value if he fully yet again breaks out this season and goes north of 60 or north of 90 points. 60 points would be a disaster. Drew Doughty, decent overpayment, $11 million. Now he broke his ankle, so that definitely doesn't help. But even before that, it was a decent overpayment. Similar to Carlson, I think he was getting a little bit too much hate in recent years. He has bounced back to being a solid number one, but yeah, he's the second highest paid defenseman in the entire NHL. As a result, it is definitely an overpayment. Zach Werenski, I'm going to go with it's okay. He's a fringe top 10 defenseman in the NHL for me at $9.6 million. I think he's slightly better than a guy like Erik Carlson. So at 9.6 for a legit borderline top 10 defenseman, I think that's fine for $9.6 million. Larkin, I'm going to go with very good value. $8.7 million for Dylan Larkin. This is a guy that has consistently been around point per game, fantastic defensively. Actually, I'm going to go with well worth it. No, actually, I'm going to move Stützle down to well worth it as well. We got some great deals in this. I think I'm going to move these guys down. Tyler Seguin, though, that is definitely a decent overpayment at $9.85 million. Jack Eichel, I'm going to go with well worth it, $10 million. Still getting paid like a legit star, so I can't quite throw him up there in good value, but he's definitely well worth it. Logan Couture, it's bad value at this point, considering the fact he's dealing with that groin injury. I'm not sure when, if at all, he's ever going to come back. So there's definitely some concerns with that. I think their next highest paid would be Toffoli. That would kind of go, and it's okay, but as of right now, I got to go with Couture in terms of the highest paid. Rasmus Dahlin, it's okay. He's getting a whopping $11 million. It's a perfectly fine deal. It's a lot of money for a guy that hasn't even been a Norris finalist once in his career. I think he even finished top 5, but I still think he's a no doubt top 10 defenseman, and he's only 24 years old, and I think he should be around, although he has had a bit of a slow start, around 65, 70 points this season. I'm going to go with just okay. David Pastrnak, though, I'm going to go with very good value. $2 million cheaper than a guy like Austin Matthews. I agree Austin Matthews is a better player, but what this guy has done for the Boston Bruins offense the last couple years, just absolutely carrying it, makes it very good value for me. Sebastian Aho, well worth it, $9.75 million, 87 points in 79 games. Last season, I expect more of the same this season. About near a top 10 center in the NHL, under $10 million, very good value. Alexander Ovechkin, Definitely an overpayment at $9.5 million. Yes, I think he can still go for like 35 and 35, but considering the fact that he's pretty bad defensively, it's an overpayment. He's probably closer to an $8.5 million player than a $9.5 million player. Couture, also definitely an overpayment. He's getting, what, $7.75 million? At this point, the offensive game has evaporated for the most part. He's been playing on the fourth line. It's pretty bad. Alexander Barkov, I'm going to go with one of the best contracts in the league when looking at next season. Only $10 million for a top 10 player in the NHL, best defensive center in the NHL. It's great value. He's probably a $13 to $14 million player. Sergachev, it's early. You could maybe argue well worth it considering how good he's been in these 6 games. I'm going to put it in it's okay right now. It's still $8.5 million, but he has looked like a legit number 1 defenseman for the Utah Hockey Club. I could definitely see myself moving it up to well worth it relatively soon. When looking at Roman Josi, I'm going to go very good value. A bit of a slow start, but when you look at what this guy's done the last 3 seasons, two Norris runner-ups, not Vezina runner-ups, at only $9 million for a guy that has pretty easily been a top 5 defenseman the last 5 seasons, and last year was a consensus top 3 defenseman. It's very good value for Roman Josi at this point. Seth Jones, decent overpayment. Not really a surprise there at $9.25 million. Connor McDavid, $12.5 million, 2 years left, but heading into next season, yeah, although he's having a slow start, he's still a $17, $18 million player, in my opinion. By far the best player in the NHL. Kirill Kaprizov, I'm going to go best contracts in the NHL at only $9 million. He's off to a very good start this season. He's my Hart runner-up pick this season. And considering the Minnesota Wild are playing so good, I expect him to go for like 45 and 60 or something like that. Actually, no, I'm expecting like 55 and 60 or something like that this season. So at $9 million, amazing deal. Artemi Panarin, well worth it. $11.6 million, amazing start to the season. You could definitely even argue. Actually, I might throw him up in very good value, considering what he did last year with 120 points, and this year yet again playing great. Dougie Hamilton, it's tough because he's coming off that injury. The point totals aren't that impressive early on, but the underlying numbers are solid. I'm going to go with it's okay. I still think he's around the top 13 to 16 defenseman in the NHL. So at $9 million, I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's okay value. Nikita Kucherov, $9.5 million next season. In terms of a legit star on a contract, that might be the best value in the entire NHL. 144 points last year. This year's deciding to shoot the puck a lot more. Has like 7 goals in his first 5 games. Playing ridiculous. Robert Thomas, well worth it. You could argue very, very good value. Maybe not a $9.5+ million guy, but at $8.125 million, he's probably around a $9 million center. Not a top 10 center, but around that 13 to 18 in the NHL. Vince Dunn, I'm going to go with very good value, or well worth it. I'm going to go with well worth it. Only $7.3 million for a guy that back-to-back seasons has been around low 60-ish points while being okay defensively. Patrick Laine, $8.7 million. You got to go with decent overpayment. I've just realized I'm blocking off a lot of these guys. Patrick Laine, decent overpayment at this point, considering the fact he's coming off injury, is obviously off the ice stuff, and now that he's just got hurt yet again, I think that he can bounce back and be like a 35 and 35 guy, but until we actually see that, we can't really put him there. Matt Barzal, I'm going to go with it's okay. I'm not going to be biased here. $9.125 million, $9.15 million, I think. He's a very damn good player, around point per game, great both ways. Not some amazing top 10 center in the NHL, or he doesn't play the center at this point, but not some top 10. He might be a top 10 winger, but you know what I mean. He's around a $9 million player, and as a result, he's getting paid $9 million. Connor Hellebuck, arguably one of the best, probably the best goalie value next season outside of Shesterkin at $8.5 million. Will the rest of that contract age as well? I don't know, but heading into next season, it's amazing value. Nathan MacKinnon, $12.5 million. I'm going to go with very good value. Again, it's still $12.5 million, but this is a guy that last year set a career high in goals, 140 points, won the Hart Trophy. And then lastly, Troy Terry, $7 million. It's okay. He's a good first liner. Actually, he's a pretty solid first liner. I don't even know if I would say that good, but he can get you around 65 to 70 points. So that at $7 million is perfectly fine in my opinion. Let me hide my face real quick so you can see the whole tier list here. There we go. Whoops. One more. Couture, Ovechkin, Jones, and Doughty. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Again, this is just for next season. I am not saying the duration of their deals, just looking at next year. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I'll be seeing the next one. Have a good Frozen Frenzy, because boy, am I.